Hello everyone and welcome back to Assassin's Creed Valhalla Wrath of the Druids with me, Longclawvalhalla and Steel, where we always deliver. Well, I've been asked by my cousin King Barid of Dublin to hunt out and find one of the High King Flann's most important emissaries, his poetess, Chiara. She's been found drunk somewhere in the city and is causing a little bit of trouble, and it's up to me to keep her out of it. Let's see how we get on.
Sometimes you need to go and take a step back to see the truth around you. From a distance you can tell. You and me were meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free. You and me.
Okay, so this pretty young Irish poetess is about to get herself in trouble with some local ruffians. It's down to me to keep her out of trouble. This may involve a bit of a brawl, so get your fists ready. These two shouldn't cause you too much trouble. There's not much of an option for it other than to get down and dirty in the dirt. And once you've given them both a taste of your fists, you'll be able to focus on the young lady who's just passed out behind you. This is a nice little mission, a nice easy mission, and I think this character Chiara is going to be a fairly sizable asset in the story campaign for these new Wrath of the Druids story missions. Remember, I'm working my way through these missions to try and help my cousin, who's the king of Ireland, to increase the renown of his city, Dublin, and gain more favour with King Flann, who is the High King, and today is his coronation, and we prepared a gift for him of some exotic spices. Problem being is that Chiara is supposed to be there to perform during the ceremony, and she's got herself in trouble. Now, this is a slight little bit of romance blossoming here, despite the fact that I've just dropped her in a pool of water. Our aim here is to obviously make sure that the coronation goes smoothly, but I also need to interact and figure out how Chiara's going to factor in this story mission and this campaign. Remember, my overall objective is to try and help my cousin and keep him on his throne. Chiara asked me to follow her, and I do, and we walk through the streets of Dublin. Eivor is kind of out of water here, a fish out of water in a strange city, so I've been spending as much time traveling around Ireland and exploring, trying to find the various different trade materials that I need to upgrade the trade posts and I've got 4 of the trade posts active now, and they're not all fully upgraded. I'm gonna get to that, but for now we're focusing on this next part of the story mission, and we need to have a chat with Barid here, and we agree that it's time for us to head to King Flann's coronation. So here we go, and this part is just a chance to travel from one side to the other, and I'm getting gradually closer to completing the wealth in certain parts of Ireland, and that is making me feel like this maybe the content in this new DLC update is not that massive. So I've only been playing this a few days and I've already managed to get a lot of the wealth, and I'm just wondering what happens once I've collected everything and I've exhausted all of the things to find and I'm completed the story missions. But for now, let's not worry about that. As we get to the camp, it's clear that something is not quite right. one of the soldiers comes up and explains that there has been a priest that's gone missing, and of course we're in luck. Eivor is here to help find him, so he agrees to dash off with Barid and go and see what he can find. But first we need to have a look around and figure out what clues might be available to explain where this priest has gone. And immediately we start to notice there's lots of blood on the floor, and some of this is there to confuse you, as we're preparing for a coronation feast, so there's a lot of animal carcasses around and butchers doing their jobs. So some of the pools of blood and the clues that you can find from using your Odin sight will lead you in the wrong direction. But once you've checked out the tent, you can follow a trail which will inevitably lead away from the camp and to another location where you'll be able to track down and figure out what has happened. But as you can see, there's a fair amount of clues available. This is not too hard, this is not too challenging so far, but I must say I am enjoying it being somewhere different, and I'm still really pumped about the whole trade side of things, and I don't fully see how this is going to work once you've upgraded all of your trade outposts and you have trade coming in, and once you've got all 7 outfits that are available through the trade process. And again, I am going to make separate videos on trade and that. I'm just trying to push my way through the trade setups and try and find all 7 of the trade outposts and get them all upgraded before I focus on making some content so I can show the full holistic approach from start to finish. But right now I'm enjoying looking for these materials and setting up these trade outposts. And as I say, I've managed to find and locate 4, and I've just located the 5th, and there are 7 in total. And you find these, I think I found the last clue inside one of the trade outposts that I just overtook. So wandering about, ignoring the red herrings which are leading you towards the butchers and things like that, it's clear that you need to travel out of the camp and away from the camp. And it seems like the priest was taken from his tent and taken maliciously away from the camp, which could potentially mean that there is some foul play afoot inside the camp. And if that's true, then King Flann is in danger and his coronation is in jeopardy, and that may be more important than the exotic spices that we have planned to give him, because this is obviously, aside from his safety, it's an opportunity for King Barid to gain that important favour. So Eivor must try to figure out what's happened here, and you can see I've already been given a new location to travel to on the map, which means that there's probably more clues to discover at the second location, and I'm hoping there's going to be a bit of wealth there as well. Annoyingly, Barid doesn't come with his own horse, so he's going to jump on the back and we'll head down the hill. Now, I've encountered a few different druid camps via the story missions and also just generally exploring, and there are some really cool things that happen when you go to attack the druids. They're very cool. They can fire poison gas at you and smoke, but also I've seen a couple of werewolves as well, which seem to be, I don't know, like controlled by the druids. It's very, very, very cool. And these are actual werewolves, not people wearing like wolf skins and things like that. So it's very cool. When you get to this location, you can see there's a body here, and Barid confirms it's a priest, and he's been stripped of his clothing, which suggests that someone is planning to wear his clothes and masquerade as this priest during the coronation. And we're going to need to do a little bit of work and go inside the camp here to figure out the rest of the clues. And there is some wealth here in all of the camps. It's slightly different to the England story arcs. You can find fairly decent and big trade supply chests located either in abbeys and monasteries and things like that, which you can obviously raid. But aside from that, there are camps, druid camps. This is the Wrath of the Druids after all, so there are camps that you can find the trade supplies, which are separate supplies that you need to upgrade your outposts and things. And I assume that there must be plenty of these lying around, and I'm finding fairly reliably, quite close to wherever your trade outpost is that you've discovered, there will be a local camp or something where you can find at least enough supplies to get one of your buildings built. Remember, there are 3 buildings within each trade outpost, usually a storage depot, some kind of cottage for the workmen, as well as some kind of supply tent. And what I'm finding now, I've got 4 of these located and all active. I'm getting different materials delivered, ale and text, as well as scripts, things like that, which are being delivered to Azar's tent, and every time I go to visit her I will loot that. Now there's a kill letter here, so it is true that King Flann is in danger and someone is intending to masquerade, and there are plenty of bits of wealth there that you can collect, some chests under the steps, things like that. But I'm going to take you back here to the coronation area and report this to Chiara, who is startled to discover that the coronation itself is now in jeopardy. So Chiara is an important character. I'm not 100% sure at this stage what it is that a poetess does, but usually it's some kind of performance, singing and playing instruments during the coronation. And I think that the fact that we're involved in his coronation and making sure that it happens, assuring that the potential bandits or whoever it was that was going to pretend to be the priest and try to kill King Flann, we've basically taken care of that threat. That's going to make us very valuable to the king, and hopefully do enough to keep King Barid in his good graces. Here there's a nice little scene where Barid disappears, and you definitely have a little bit of flirty romance here. It almost looks for a minute like Eivor's trying to position himself. She gives him a little wink, and there's definitely something on the cards. She reminds me a little bit of Triss Merigold from The Witcher, if anybody's ever played The Witcher, and I'm sure that's intentional. So, putting Randy at the back of his mind, Eivor is thinking with the lower parts of his anatomy, and perhaps not got his mind on the job 100%, but nothing actually happens here because she reminds him that she just asked for some privacy so she can prepare for her role in the coronation, which is, as I say, a fairly important one. The coronation itself goes ahead without any further ado, and remember that King Flann has now taken the high ruling position across all Ireland, being the king of all Ireland. Various different cities are under certain kingships, and this is how life was almost 1,000 years ago, when the England and Europe and what we know now as usually under one united rule had lots of different kings and kingdoms and things like that, which created all this war and malcontent. A lot of people, it wasn't necessarily that difficult to overthrow a neighbouring king and become a stronger king. And I think King Flann, being a Christian, is taking a slightly different approach, ruling with authority and influence, and he is definitely a strong character. And I think, I'm not sure how this will play out as we'll go through the story arcs. We'll figure that out, but he's definitely an impressive character, and can see why he has taken that position and why he's been able to rule as High King. Chiara does turn up, and her performance is very nice. She's singing and playing an instrument during the preparation for the coronation, and this is quite a sweet little scene. And again, there's a huge focus on the story and the rich depth of the stories that are running alongside the missions, and there seems to be, from my opinion, to give this a bit of a review at this stage, I would say that there's a huge and wealth of focus on the story and the content as you see it in these kind of scenes, but not so much content available for the player, for your character to do. There is the usual, so far I've seen usual camps and buildings that you can take down and raid, and tombs to explore, and there's some challenges and different wealth to collect, but that's it so far. But I am enjoying it. I have not yet decided if this is worth the $19.99 that I had to spend to get this expansion pack, but I will make a solid review of this once I've completed everything and as I've exhausted all of the material. Then I will make a review video giving my thoughts on that. For now, we're getting ready to move to the next mission, which is where we're going to go and try to help King Flann recover something that has been taken from him of some significant value and importance. Barid is kind of giving me a little bit more insight here onto why King Flann is not particularly, why he feels that perhaps Barid is not the greatest king, and why he's not in such good favour with him. And it seems that this is all related to the manner in which King Barid took his throne in Dublin. But nevertheless, he has a very important position, being that Dublin is the trade, or what will become, with our help, the trade capital in Ireland. And as it rightly should be, it will be the place where the majority of the exotic and international trade materials come through, and we're a big part of that, all through as our store. Without us setting these trade settlements up and increasing the renown of Ireland, it's not going to happen. So there you go, and I will press on, and I'll bring the next episode of this, part 4, very shortly. Please check out my channel for the rest of the content. Thank you for watching this. Take care, stay safe, and I'll be back very soon.